back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. As you know, Heritage Hill is with you in Pompey in the rolling hills of Central and Upstate New York on Sweet Road, and also at Heritage Hill North in the hustle and bustle of being a part of so many pieces of Central New York. You'll find them right there on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, right at Sweetheart Corners. Of course, we always are here with you weekly Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with what we call Bearcat Time in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats. And this edition of Moments with Marshall, of course, with Binghamton University Athletics Director Gene Marshall, and this time following back-to-back Commissioners' Cups. Mr. Marshall, how you doing?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. And first and foremost, I know we talked about this a little bit off the air, but congratulations to you and to all of Binghamton University and your staff, your student athletes, and your coaches on hoisting not one, but two Commissioners' Cups here in the America East.
Well, thank you. We have great coaches, great student athletes, and great support. It's a total team effort, including our fans and our corporate partners and our alumni who support us not only in dollars but in deed and in presence by coming to our games. So I can't be more happier for them, because this has been a long time coming, and to get to where we are today is a true blessing and credit to everybody that I talked about.
And speaking with John Hartrick, who was on our last Bearcat Breakroom, I had the opportunity to speak with John, the Senior Associate Director of Athletics and Communications, and he had said that in the history, Binghamton had finished no better than fifth in the conference, and now we have back-to-back years of being first. How does this all come together, Gene? Because obviously you've spent some time here at Binghamton University, and there was a time before you in the America East, but what has happened in these last few years with you there that you've been able to see firsthand that leads to having the opportunity for a Commissioner's Cup?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the team that we have assembled here, my leadership team, and President Stanger, who has been supporting us from day one, even when it didn't look like we were headed in the right direction. But our leadership team, you have Dennis Kalena, you have Leanne Savage Morris, you have Z Zion, John Hartrek, Dave Egan, Dave Semick, and you have Kara Gorgas. You also have Marissa, who is handling our finances. And they came up with a plan to try to continue to support our programs in a manner that could get us to a better level. Coming out of COVID, everybody lost a lot, but we started putting it back in. So the credit goes to that group that kind of started it. And I was able to come in, thanks to the Lord, I was able to come in at the time I did and kind of provide support, meeting with the coaches, student athletes, trying to get everybody on the same bus, which we did, and seeing that we were able to get them to believe in one another. And then winning is as contagious as losing is contagious.
Yeah. And when you said, trying to get everybody together and get people on the same bus, Gene, you came in with a vision of wanting to win in the classroom, win on the fields, the courts, the tracks, and so on and so forth of life. Mm-hmm. Binghamton, in its history, had seen tough times, had seen what it's like of the losing culture to continue losing. You look to men's basketball history, and at one point was at the bottom of 300 plus teams. like I said before, this doesn't happen overnight. Your vision and your mission and your leadership, why do you feel like when you're trying to get everybody on the same bus, why did they listen to you? I know it's not just you, I know it's a team, but you're a part of this, and there's something to be said about you coming in and that paralleling success. So, what is it about your message that you felt like people were picking up what you were putting down?
Well, I think, and you'll probably laugh at this a little bit, but um, I'm the crazy guy in the corner office that has a lot of energy that doesn't accept losing. And so I don't accept it. And they got to understand that, and they do. We said we were going to win, and we're trying to put the effort into making that happen. So you take student athletes and you say, hey, losing's not acceptable. So I'm not expecting you to lose. I'm expecting you to win. After a while, they believe that, and they saw some success. And so if your expectation is to win, and that's what you're setting your sights on, you don't accept losing. And the student athletes have to support you because I support them. They know what I am. They know who I am. They know what we're trying to get done. And they know what I expect. The coaches, they got a chance to manage their rosters. And they had a chance to, if you're going to keep somebody, that's fine. If you're not, then you got to explain why. And it can't be athletic talent related. We didn't have a lot of trouble in our programs this year. That's a credit to the coaches and their assistants and the student athletes because they want to take care of business. So I think it's a culture that we're setting here. And this culture is going to carry those student athletes to success in life because they're not going to accept losing when they work. They're not going to accept losing at home. And they're not going to accept losing in the community. So, and that's what we tell them. This is academics, athletics, and the community, but it's also about life. And you don't want to be considered a loser. You want to give everything you had. And they do. Now, it's tougher, as I said to them last year when we won it the first time. They're going to be shooting at us again this year. So now, they're going to be really shooting at us because people thought they were going to overtake us and they didn't. So along with this success, we have a target on our back and we accept it, we embrace it, and we're going to just continue to work hard to see if we can be successful again.
And when you look at this, what's the day by day cultural change that you've seen? Those things that the repetition that may, for some people, be monotonous at times, but understanding the things that you need to do, the foundational bases that you need in order to have a cultural change to get to one Commissioner's Cup, but then to do back to back. It's saying something about an athletic department. It's not saying something about one program, one student athlete, one coach. This is throughout. So when you're looking to take a cultural positive shift and have that wave continue to gain momentum, this is something that has to be a day-to-day thing. Bring me into how you create a cultural change that can sustain itself.
It's coaching. I'm still coaching. I started coaching in college athletics 39 years ago, and I'm still coaching. The difference is I'm coaching student athletes and coaches and administrators. And part of it is to continue to maximize their strengths and improve their weaknesses. Programs, student athletes, administrative staff, and coaching staff. How can we get better? And so we look at it, how can we get better? It's not always about money. It's about preparation. It's about overcoming adversity. And I think our teams have overcome a lot of adversity this year to help us win this cup. Injuries, um, players kind of thinking they're better than they are, players not getting, not accepting the fact that somebody else has put the time in the off season and now they're just as good or better. Um, it's about a team. It's about we and not me. And so I think that the coaches are using that. They're running their programs, and they believe they can win. And so when you put that together, eventually you're going to knock down the door. You look at lacrosse. They lost to Albany 25 straight times.
Yeah.
But they knew if they were going to be in that championship game again, they were going to win. Softball, 33 victories. And they're just touching the iceberg of what they can do. It's the tip of the iceberg of what they can really do. Baseball, with all the injuries that they had this year, they still made the conference championship. That's a credit to Coach Zanicki, his staff, and those young men that they just kept fighting. Basketball, men's basketball had the best 15 wins. It's the most wins in 15 years. It's not by accident.
Yeah.
The kids bear down, the coaches coached. Women's basketball made it to the second round of the conference championship. You got women's lacrosse, women's cross country, who won their first America East Conference Championship. And they probably didn't have their best team because they had some injuries. So women's soccer, it went undefeated, 5-0-3 in conference play. So women's volleyball was, a serve here or there away from winning the championship. But they're going to be hungry coming back. So I think those successes build, and the student athletes in this department are close. They support each other's teams. They go to each other's games. When we were at women's lacrosse in the rain for the America East Championship, the men's lacrosse team was there to support them. And so teamwork, communication, coaching, that's how you change a culture.
That coming here from Binghamton University Athletics Director Gene Marshall in this Moments with Marshall special in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. For those that don't know, when you look at how this happens, you were above runner-up U Albany as far as the point totals that come together. The Bearcats had 335 total points, and the Commissioner's Cup recognizes the strongest athletics program in the America East as determined by a scoring system, which rewards a school for success both during the regular season as well as championship competition in the conference's 18 sports. When we look at some of the things that led to these point totals, Binghamton had 3 regular season champions, women's soccer, women's lacrosse, and softball, and 3 America East tournament champions in women's cross country, men's swimming and diving, and women's lacrosse. And as you mentioned, women's soccer going undefeated, tallied the most points with 43 points going to your over 300 points in this. So when we look at the system of the tallying of point by point, Gene, just what you can say about the fact that this truly is, as you mentioned, with a bunch of different sports, a collective. They look at the regular season, they look at the America East tournament, those postseasons, those championships, and what teams put together overall, and each team can come together, like you said, student athletes supporting each other. They can literally support each other by going to games, and then through this point system, they support each other by having all of the points from each of the 18 sponsored sports inside of the America East find its way to come together. So just what you can say about how this truly is a collective effort, and you can't just have one program or two programs doing what they need to do. It has to be a collective.
Yes, you have to have all the programs to be successful. Now, if you think about it, last year we had 7 runner-up places. This year, we now have 3 regular season championships and 4 postseason. So we made the difference up. And we still have some teams that didn't finish in the top half that still have a more gas in the tank that they can do for next year. But one of the things, again, I don't want to understate it, is the fact that Dennis Kalana, our senior deputy AD and COO, had what it would take for us to repeat, just like he had what it would take for us to win last year. And along with John Hartrek, our senior associate AD for athletic communications, we're following it season by season. So we knew what we needed in the fall, we knew what we needed in the winter, and then we knew what we needed to do in the spring. And so with that being said, now you can try to motivate the different teams through the coaches, and they can motivate the players. So even if you don't win the conference championship, which is the ultimate goal, you now can still do well enough to help us win the overall Commissioner's Cup, which is very important because that's something that we all did as a family.
Yeah.
And I think that the student athletes, the coaches, the staff take great pride in that because everybody contributed. And I think if you look at men's tennis, the fact that they're in another league, but they won. They were in first place in the regular season, so they were the number 1 seed, and they won the conference championship. Golf finished 5th. But it's progress. Wrestling had their best season in years. Top of the pack, we have 4 wrestlers qualify for nationals. So each program is doing their due diligence and doing their job to get us to where we need to be, no matter what conference we're in. So I think that winning the Commissioner's Cup just shows that it's a culmination of everybody's hard work, determination, and effort. And we knew, thanks to Dennis and John, that it was going to be close. We could either won by 1 or by 10, and we won by 10. But we had put ourselves in a position to win. And that wasn't Gene Marshall being in the position to win. That was the coaches and the student athletes putting the work in and doing what it would take to get this championship.
Yeah. And I mean, and I love that you mentioned, like you said, golf and wrestling and, looking at men's tennis going into the NEC for the first time ever, finishing as regular season champions, becoming the number 1 seed, and then winning in men's tennis in the tournament in the NEC for the Northeast Conference, and Nick Zazula and the crew, and then going on to the NCAA tournament. Absolutely incredible. And along with all of this going on, Gene, And I know that Binghamton University was given the recognition as a public Ivy League, one of 10 schools in the nation to be regarded as a public Ivy League. And to
Right.
go with that, we look at the academic progress rate, the APR, which holds institutions accountable for the academic progress of their student athletes through a team-based metric that accounts for the eligibility and retention of each student athlete for each academic term. And as we look at this right now, a record-setting 13 Binghamton Bearcats teams earned a perfect score of 1,000 for the 2022-23 academic year, reaching that where women's basketball, men's cross country, golf, men's lacrosse, men's soccer, women's soccer, softball, men's swimming and diving, men's tennis, men's track and field, and wrestling. So amidst everything that's going on with the Commissioners' Cup back to back in the America East, we see the success outside of the conference, and then for Binghamton University as a whole being regarded as one of the top 10 public Ivy League schools, and seeing the student athletes in 13 of your programs receive a perfect academic progress rate score of 1,000. Congratulations, and I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, thank you. But that is a effort from our coaches recruiting the best and the brightest. That's our president who puts a value on the type of institution that he leads and how he leads it. And then you look at what these young men and women have done in the classroom, on the field of competition, in the community. And when they graduate, they will have graduated winning championships, high academics, and they will be marketable for any profession that they choose. So that's what this is all about. That is really what college athletics is all about. It's academic success, it's athletic success, and having an impact in your community. So we're winning across the board. And it's a credit to, again, the institution and our student athletes and our coaches. So, I think it was fitting that when we talk about student athlete and you go to the dictionary and look it up, or you go online and look it up, it should have a Bearcat. They should open it up to see a lady Bearcat or a male Bearcat, because that's what it is. We're being successful in the classroom, on the court, field, track, and in the community. And so I think it's a culmination of that. It shows what we have done. We've always been good academically. We're even better now. We're getting better athletically, and that's beginning to move. So I just think that, as I told you many times, I've been blessed to be in this position at this particular time. Sometimes, the Lord takes good care of you, and he puts you in a position that is right for you at this particular time. And I think this was the time for me to be at Binghamton. I can provide some support to an already awesome staff and coaches and student athletes, and keep this Ferrari on the road, so I don't, turn off.
And it has been incredible, like you said, and you and I are very strong in our faith, and I love hearing that from you. That you said, the Lord helped to bring you there, and you feel like, this is an opportunity that comes from something bigger than you, and comes from your faith and your trust in God, in the higher power. And I do want to play some rapid fire and have some fun for a second here with Eugene. But before we get there, I do want to make a note of the fact that this is all happening amidst name, image, and likeness, amidst crazy conference realignment that is now putting schools and conferences against each other that are over 2,000 miles apart and over 30 hours of travel between each other. and at a time where the transfer portal is wreaking havoc and creating free agency, it is not easy to pull off one program with a perfect score of 1,000 in the academic progress rate. It is not easy to be an Ivy League caliber school with everything going on. In the student athlete world, there's a lot of schools out there that are shedding that first name and that hyphen just for the last name. So the fact that Binghamton is not only doing it, but doing it at a time now where the collegiate model is in flux, what does that mean?
It just means, as I said earlier, that we are blessed and God is good, because in the sea of chaos, Binghamton is rising like the phoenix. And it just shows how everybody, if you can work together, you can be successful under any conditions. We're going to work to address NIL. We're going to follow the SUNY guidelines, but we're going to address it. We're going to work to do it, to support our student athletes in a proportionate manner that's fair and equitable. And we're going to do the best we can to get the best and brightest student athletes to do well in the classroom, compete at a high level, and help us to continue to win championships. But again, when you have excellent staff, excellent coaches, awesome student athletes that understand why they're here, and they play for the name in the front, not for the name in the back, because they know that the name in the front happens to be one of the top public Ivies in the country. And they know that when they graduate, that name in the front is going to set them up for the rest of their lives, so that the name in the back can live comfortably forever. NIL is going to be a short time.
Yeah.
Whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 years or 5 years of your academic career, the name in the front is going to sustain you for the rest of your life. So I think when you put that together, our young men and women are highly intelligent,
Yeah,
highly motivated, and highly driven. And so they know what time it is. And, I believe that, we're going to continue to work hard to be successful, work hard to recruit the best and the brightest, and work hard to provide them with the best possible resources and facilities to continue this successful journey.
I love it. A lot of great things to talk about in the classroom, on the fields, courts, pools, and tracks of life. It's time now, Gene, for you and I to put each other on the hot seat in rapid fire. We can ask each other anything in the world, sports or literally anything related. You get to ask me the first question. What do you got?
All right, the first question. Who do you support more? Syracuse or the NFL Jacksonville Jaguars?
I love that you're really putting me on the hot seat. So I would say, so I would say, Syracuse is my hometown. Jacksonville is my baby. I've been a fan of the Jaguars since I was 9 years old when they came into fruition in '95. And actually, I've held a credential longer for Jacksonville than anything my whole life. This is, God willing, year 14. So I love Syracuse. I love my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll get on a plane and go all over the place for the Jaguars. So I guess I gotta say my babies. Guess I gotta say Jacksonville.
Well, I'll save you that. I'll say that from Monday to Saturday, you bleed orange, and then on Sunday you're a Jaguar.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Gene. You should answer the question instead of me. Appreciate that. My question back to you. Which one of your family members do you like? No, I'm kidding. So
it depends on what day it is, because they may be mad at me.
So I'll say this, Gene. If you had to play one song on repeat for the rest of your life that you could never get sick of, what song would you play in your office every day and why?
That's a great question. But here, every time we win, they play Celebration by Kool and the Gang. And JT Taylor and I grew up together. He's a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
So he's a hometown guy. So I would have to say Celebration, because that means that after every game we win, we play it. So if that's in my office, that means we're winning.
Okay. I like that. That's a good answer there. What's your next one for me, Gene?
What are your favorite hobbies?
I would say singing since I was 3. I would say writing music, drawing, and I'd probably say going to the movies because I could shut my brain off. So I'd probably say all of those because I've always liked the movies, always loved to draw, always loved music. So those seem to be the ones that flow through any part of my life.
I like that. So I can tell you right now, we're going to have a fundraiser here for a night with Dan, and he's going to sing, and the $1 million that we get is going to go to NIL for Binghamton Athletics.
There you go. I get to pick the song, so I definitely get to pick the song for sure. So, my song, or my, I've been singing a lot more lately too. My question back to you, Mr. Marshall, is if you could take me on an all expense paid trip somewhere, money's not an option, where would you want to go that you've never been? Where would we go and what would we do if we were having a Marshall Tortora trip, just us to get away and celebrate all this success that we've been able to see? Where are we going? What are we doing?
We go to Dubai. I haven't been to Dubai, so we go to Dubai and kind of just take it easy.
All right. If you or I even know how to do that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'd probably be there trying to recruit players over there, and just point them out, saying, "Hey, coach, you got some good players over here."
Yeah, I'm with you on that. What's your final question for me?
Final question.
Yes, sir.
If you had to pick one coach to coach one play, doesn't matter the sport, you can pick the sport, who would it be?
I had to pick one coach to coach one play. It's tough. I'm thinking about some of these coaches where I'm like, did they really do the play, or did the player just make that move at the right time? Because I feel like, there's guys that definitely did what they were supposed to do, kind of by instinct. I would say if I had to pick one coach to do one play, you know what? I mean, I'm reluctant in saying this because as a fan, I am not a fan of this team, but you can't deny that Bill Belichick can, who was better at halftime? Drawing up a play. And I think that I've seen firsthand in Dave Clawson in a decade at Wake Forest. He's really good at halftime too. But I would say that Bill Belichick, without doubt, he could draw up a play for swimming and diving. He could tell him what to do with that. This is how I need you to do. I mean, he could tell him how to swim different after never watching swimming. This guy could tell you how to play water polo better. He could teach you cricket. He can probably play bocce with my ancestors in my Italian family. I don't think there's any time where you couldn't ask Bill Belichick to draw up a play. So I'm going to say Bill Belichick reluctantly because he is very, very good. But he drew up a lot of plays at halftime against my Jaguars in games that I wish ended in the first half. So I'm going to say Bill Belichick because I think that's a pretty clear one.
That's a good one. Yep.
All right. I'm going to throw one back to you, Gene.
Okay.
Gene, my final one for you is... Okay, I'm going to ask you this. Since you asked me some deep ones, I'm going to ask you a deep one. Okay. I am a single man in society. I believe in God. I believe in love. And I would love the opportunity someday to meet the right person, which I cannot say in my history has happened. So give me your love advice. How do you go about finding the right one, and how do you sustain the right relationship?
Good question. I always teased my wife and said she married me because she felt sorry for me. But I think you have to be blessed to find the right person to understand what you do. Yeah. We are not in the most sanest of businesses and the most stable of businesses. So therefore, you have to have somebody that's special that understands that. And I think if you can find that person that understands that, then you'll help to sustain each other. But I am blessed. So I have somebody that does understand this crazy business. Matter of fact, my wife jokes with me now, there's a conference room, as you know, next to my office. Yeah. And so her big thing is that if people, you're too busy to meet with them, then they can always come in my conference room and meet with me. So that's, and they have to be a part of what you do. Yeah. If they're not a part of what you do, then they don't understand what you do. So that would be my suggestion. Yeah. And I'm not the person that...
It makes sense, and I know that you dote on your wife, and you definitely show her support and love, and I've seen that. So I think having people to support each other. My Papa Joe and Mary been married for many years, and they had been married beforehand, and when they found each other, they said, hey, you got to be able to share a faith, you got to pray together, have those similar interests, and they're not committed to fighting with each other. That's something too that they do not find any value in that. So
well, if this AD thing doesn't work out for me, maybe I'll get one of those Match.com businesses.
I like that. You know what? You should do one. You should make a dating app called Martial Law. I like that.
That's good. I like that one.
Yeah. So if you do that, I get royalties for creating the name for sure.
Exactly. Yes.
So, Gene Marshall here with me, Moments with Marshall, Binghamton University Athletics Director, following back-to-back Commissioners' Cups, as well as the success overall with the student athletes and the coaches, and 13 programs with a perfect APR of 1,000, as well as your dating advice, and Gene not shying away from officially putting me on the hot seat right from the jump. So, Mr. Marshall, I appreciate you. I value our parallels and our morals and our values and our faith. And from the opportunity that I got to sit down with you in that office and really just get to talk about life and who we are as people, that I value you very much so. So thank you.
Thank you, and back at you. And try to get some rest before football starts up, because it looks like the Jaguars are going to be pretty good, and it looks like the Orange are going to be pretty good. So you're going to be very busy.
As long as I got somewhere to go in December and January, that's what I ask these teams to do. Give me a place to go in the warm weather when it's cold outside, and that means that they got to be in the postseason. So that's what we got to do.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you, Gene, as always.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.